makeup loving friends, welcome back to my channel. We're doing more XX Revolution stuff today because I am checking to see if XX Revolution is a dupe of itself. Are there things in that collection that you don't necessarily need to get because you could end up doubling up on some things? So the main thing that I'm actually looking at is the eyeshadow palette and the foundations, believe it or not. I'm trying to see if there is a discernible difference between the foundations. So on one side of my face I have the liquid skin, and on the other half of my face I have the glow. Can you tell which side is which? And in addition to that, I want to see if the eyeshadow palettes are essentially duping themselves. So could I take, for instance, this quad, it's called the XXClusive. Could I take this quad and could I use the big XXTravaganza to create the exact same look? Or at least something very darn similar. So again, I have one half of the face is using the XXTravaganza, like one eye, and then the other one is using the XXClusive. So if you want to see how I did that, whether or not you think they are a good dupe, it could potentially save you money. That's my general hope. Then this is the video for you. I have done previous wear tests of these foundations. I'm also applying it in a slightly different way. I'm using a sponge today rather than a makeup brush, so it's giving me a little bit more information. I will of course be doing a review roundup probably in the next week or two to let you know exactly what it is that I think of the items overall, because I want to stop you guys from spending the same crazy amount of money that I do. But yeah, if you're interested in that and seeing how I did this look, then this is the video for you. So yeah, let's just get straight into it. I am going to prime my eyelids. I use a NYX concealer. I know, shouldn't be using a concealer, but I'm a renegade. I've said this many a time before. I'm just, I'm just that cool, you know? I know that they did sell eye primers, but I'll be honest, I'm lazy and I don't really bother with eye primers. I think at the moment I'm trying to use up the concealers that I found didn't work that great as actual concealers, and I'm like, maybe if I use those as like a base for my eyes, then at least it's not like wasted money. That's the way that I look at it. And I'm just using a Morphe brush, I believe it's the M48, yeah. I'm just patting that out. So I'll be using both the XXTravaganza and the XXClusive to try and see, can I make the same look? Is that even possible? Ooh, excuse me. I've also been watching some things recently where it's been saying mad things like you should maybe put your paler color on first. I know. I'm shocked and appalled as well. Also, please excuse my terrible table. It is just filled with things. I'm planning to use as many XX Revolution things today as I possibly can, and I have the two palettes in front of me. God, the big XXTravaganza. It says X extra shades, X extra color, X extra ... I'm like, okay, sweetie, that's nice. So I have the shade here in the quad, that is this color, and I'm going to use that. And then on the other eye, I am going to use this shade from the quad, I was going to call it the quad, this clearly is not the quad, but from this one, because it looks like it could be fairly similar. So I'm going to start out off first. I'm going to have this eye be the XXTravaganza, so the big palette, and this eye be the quad. There we go. So I'm going and using a Jessup 227, a Luxe Soft Definer. I'm going to put my glasses off, and I'm going to use the same brushes throughout, but I'm going to use a color switch to kind of see. So I'm just gonna pat this on first. It's a pretty looking color. I can hear my mother on the phone. This is one of the last days that I'll actually be here in this house for a while because I'm going back to Carlo. I know, I live such an exciting life. Not wildly pigmented, but I do like the effect it's giving here. It's pretty. It's kind of rosy and romantic. Although I'm single and it's lockdown, so that's my reason. Lockdown, that's what's stopping me from getting a partner. Not that I'm socially awkward, it's just lockdown. I mean, that blends really nicely. I'm happy with that. So I'm going into the colour switch now. And this eye is going to be the quad. So I'm going into this shade here. Let's see how different they are. They look like they were fairly similar in the pan. You can tell they're two very, very different ones. But if you looked at them in the pan, they'd look almost the same. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to reach for my glasses. I'm going to show you them in or next to each other. So it does kind of look like they would be somewhat similar, but it seems, alas, I was not correct. So far, it does seem that they are not duping themselves, which is good. So that's always the fear when you have a big rainbow palette, that it will render all of the smaller palettes obsolete. So far, not so much. Now, this next shade I have to try and figure out because, yeah, so they're not exact dupes for each other, Lord knows, they really, really aren't. But I think it's as close as I can get, yeah. Ooh, excuse me. So I think this shade and that shade, they look fairly similar-ish. So that's what I'm going to go in with next, hopefully. And I'm going to continue to make really weird friggin' faces, apparently. I'm using my same brush again because I'm lazy, and I'm going into the shade in the XXTravaganza palette that I was just showing you guys. And yeah, let's see how this goes. And I'm popping that on top. Oh, that's interesting because that cools it down. That cools this down quite a bit. And yeah, so I'm going to use the same brush, go into this shade now in the quad. I mean, that's giving a similar-ish look, isn't it? I mean, to me they look different, but I think, you know, from afar, you could probably be like, yeah, no, they look like they're the same. Which is interesting to me. I think the one that I'm going to struggle with the most is the purple, like the deep purple, because actually there isn't really, oh, what am I doing? I lost my train of thought. I have to go into the XXTravaganza for this one and just pop that on there. There we go. I think the one that I'm going to find the hardest is actually the purple. So I'm using a different brush now. Yeah, I'm going to use this Jessup's JE03. It's a small blender brush. And I have to try and figure out exactly what it is that I want. Okay, so there's no exact dupe for the deep purple in this. So what I'm going to do is actually take the two of these onto the brush and smoosh them together for this eye. I know I did a little boo-boo where I transferred over, but I don't think there was enough pigment to have made that be a thing. I mean, the pigment is pretty decent. I'll obviously get another brush to blend this, but that's looking pretty good. I'm going to put that brush down for a little bit and actually just get like a little blendy brush. Oh god, I was going to say little blendy brush. And I picked up a huge one. What was I doing? I'm going to take the Morphe M573, not taking up any product on it, and I'm just going to lightly brush around. A little bit, oh gosh, well done Teresa. Smack yourself in the eye. A little bit of fallout, but not major. So I've put the JE03 in through the colour switch, as I did with the M428 or whatever it was that I just used. And I'm going to go into this colour here, doing the same thing on this eye. Let's see how different they actually are. But in terms of the performance, they're both performing pretty well. So there isn't a huge inconsistency in terms of the quality. And I'm going to take that Morphe brush again, not taking any new product onto it. I'm just going to just blend. It did go a bit all over the place, didn't it? I think this is a more like a pale purple than this one. This is much more deep, far more blue toned. The next thing I want to do is I kind of want to do a very simple halo eye. So that is super simple. I didn't really do much with that. I'm going to put my glasses on again. I do really enjoy that concealer when doing like a halo eye or a cut crease. I just find it really good. There we go. I have found my shader brush because you don't want to see what I've done to this desk. It's a travesty. So I've been looking at this and I'm like, the golds aren't that similar, but I reckon maybe on the eye they might be similar-ish, adjacent. Who knows? Anyways, I reckon these two could perform pretty similarly, do you think? We'll see. We'll see. It's probably one of those things that like, it is pretty obvious. So I'm going to go into that big gold shade in the XXTravaganza. I'm using the Jessup 226 smudger brush. I'm not going to pick up any setting spray yet, unless I need it. Hopefully I won't. And I'm just going to pop that on. Ooh, yeah, there we go. Decent amount of pigment. You do have to scrape it up now though, I will say. But once you get it on, well, it looks pretty nice. I am going to take, I have a very small little blending brush that I love. It's the Sigma E36 and I'm just going to use that to blend. Yeah, I mean, is it perfect? No, but it's fine. It's fine for what I need it for, is what I'm trying to say. Look, I don't know what it is I'm trying to say either, so you're fine. So I'm going to use the 226 smudger again to go into the gold here in this one. So, ooh, this definitely has a different feel to it in terms of like how it's taking up on the brush. And it's definitely a much more cool toned gold. It's a bit more like flaky or something. It's a funny one though, it doesn't seem to apply as well as the other one. It does seem to be exaggerating texture on my eyelids, which, by the way, I don't have very textured eyelids. I am only 30. This is making my eyelids look like they're 50, which, you know, not great. That was I think a bit trickier to get on than the other one, weirdly. But they do look like they're related at least. So I'm going to take the blending brush now and I'm going to dip into that same gold again. In the quad, I mean, not the XXTravaganza. Yeah, I actually think the gold is better on this one than it is on this one. Whatever it is about the formulation of that, I might actually, I'll zoom you guys in later once I have kind of put everything together. I am using my Pixi Rose Flash Balm because I like using a primer that I'm used to, or that I have previous experience with when I'm testing out new foundations. I've tried both of these now once each. So I'm going to do one half of my face with one and one half with the other. And I'm actually going to use it with a sponge this time because the last time I applied, I used a makeup brush, a Bare Minerals makeup brush, which I do really enjoy, but I want to see if it'll be a little bit different. Yeah, there we go. I also use my NYX color corrector because, I mean, my face. So I'm just going to put here, here, here. Solve my sins. Solve my sins. That'll do. So I have the two foundations here. This is the Glow and then this is the Skin Liquid. So I think I'm going to put the Glow over on this side and the Skin Liquid on this side. Yeah. So I'm going to use the same sponge. It is damp, but it should be fine. I was such a fool when I opened this originally. I like twisted it and it took this off with it, and like I thought it was like a weird screwed up doe foot. It's not. It's just me not knowing how to open things. Now I'm only going to take one pump for the moment. This, by the way, looks really, really white on camera, but it's actually, they're both actually a very, very good colour match for me. It's just to do with lighting, really. Okay, I think that is blended pretty well. So that side is the Liquid Skin FauXXdation. And now using the same sponge, because I'm too lazy to go and get a different one, but I can't imagine the contamination is that big, I am using the liquid, or the glow skin. So I'm going to take 2 pumps because, well, we've seen what that's been doing. Because they're both, by the way, the same shade, in that they're like, which one? FX 0.05, which is the lightest one, by the way. Let's see, how does that look? I mean, it doesn't look bad. I don't think it's very obvious that I've one half, like half my face is one and half my face is the other. Or maybe it's just me being ridiculous, but I couldn't tell the difference. I also have the concealer, so I'm going to put that on both under eyes. Very, very, very good coverage. You know, like it's usually, if you're looking at more drugstore, pharmacy, whatever you want to call them, concealers, they normally don't give you very good coverage, but this is actually pretty darn good. This is the 3rd time I'm using it now, so I'm actually quite enjoying it. And excuse me while I try and find a particular brush of mine. There we go. I'm going to use this Real Techniques brush, and I'm actually going to go into the setting powder in Lustrous Glow. It's I think it's like Luster or something, and I don't bother using the powder puff on this, so I'm just going to swirl my brush in there because I can do what I like. This does, by the way, have colour to it, so just beware. I actually think it shouldn't necessarily be a setting powder. I think it's more like almost like a highlight in ways. But hey ho, in for a penny, in for a pound. I have the Overload palette. There we go. And over here I can basically use these as cream highlighters, which I like using. So I'm going to use this one. I like to go in with my sponge like this, because that's the sort of person that I am. Sorry, don't know why I'm singing it. And, ooh, okay, hello. That's nice. BT Dub's much nicer than the actual powder foundation, in case you're wondering. And I'm very pale, so this is working for me. I'm also going to boop it on the nose, because that's super unusual. Nobody ever puts highlight on their nose. Don't know why I'm even saying it. I mean, I like that. That's a nice subtle sort of a glow. And then I also like to do the same thing with the blush. So these are quite pale blushes, by the way. I think I'll go into this one here. So I'm just going to take, I like to take, like I said, the end of the sponge. Can't remember words. And just pat it. I think that looks actually really quite nice. That is essentially it in terms of what I have. I will of course probably be putting a bit more setting powder on again. I'll come back once I've kind of done a little bit more, because I have to do my brows, etc. And I will probably style my hair, put on lashes, etc. We'll come back, we'll have a little look at this and see, do we think, are they sort of duping themselves? Can we tell the difference between the foundations? Can we tell the difference between the two eyeshadow palettes? Do you necessarily need to be an idiot like me and buy all of the collection? We'll see. So I'm back. I did the rest of my makeup, not that there was a hell of a lot more to do. I put on the Maybelline Lip Stain. It does make your lips a little bit like clingy, but I don't mind, it's totally fine. I'm pretty much almost done at this point. The only thing I have left to do is to actually basically use more of that setting powder. So I'm going to use this Blush Tribe brush that I got. The handle's a little bit whatever, but I don't care. It's something from Blush Tribe and they're not a thing anymore, and that's genuinely quite sad. So, ooh, there we go. Find honestly that's the best way to use this setting powder. Anybody else finding the same thing? Oh god, I think I've probably taken on way too much. First world problems. So I'm just gonna smoosh it everywhere. Tried to do my hair. My fringe isn't doing what I want it to do. It is what it is. It does definitely seem, because I should have in retrospect probably gotten the translucent one, because this isn't, like there's the translucent fixing powder but it didn't have a glow to it, so I was like, no. Because apparently I'm glowy these days, and I have, I don't know why I keep putting this back into its box, but I do. I have the Glow Fixx Brightening Fixing Mist, and I figured out that there's like glitter in this or something. It's very strange, but whatever, we're using it. I know that Elena, when she used this, she said it smelled really weird and she didn't like it. I don't mind it. There we go, fringe, you go back to where you need to be. That is the whole look. I don't know about you, but I can't personally tell which side is which in terms of the foundation. In terms of the eyes, yes, you can when you're looking a little bit closer. But how many people are going to go straight up to your face? So let's have a little look at the eyes right now and just see what they look like. So this eye was using the XXTravaganza and this I was using the quad. Notable differences, of course, include the gold, because this is far more a yellowy gold and this is far more a cool tone gold. I actually think the gold from the XXTravaganza applied much more easily than this one. This one was far more flaky and difficult to work with. Obviously the purples are much more warm in the XXTravaganza, and they're far more cool toned, blue toned sort of purples in the quad. Like when you look at them close, it's pretty clear they're different, but I think from afar, it's not wildly obvious. And then in terms of the foundation, we have the Glow Skin on this side, and we have the Liquid Skin Foundation on this side. And I don't know about you, but I genuinely, I can't tell the difference like at all. There's no discernible difference there for me at all. So let's just talk about the products in general. Because a few of these now I've had a little bit more of a go at than I did before. So, do I think that this necessarily dupes out this, or that this dupes out this? Not completely, but I think you can get a similar-ish look. So, you know, considering this one's €30, don't know how much it is in pounds, but it's €30, and this one is 12. You know, you might be better off getting the big, I was going to call it the big quad. It's not the big quad. There's 66 shades in this versus 4 shades in this. I think, like, if I was comparing, say, the blue quad, I would say the blue quad is better in terms of quality. This quad isn't as nice. Like, it doesn't, like, the metallic shade isn't as nice in that. So I would say, you know, if you have this, you do not need to buy the XXClusive palette. That is my 2 cents on that. In terms of the foundations, or fauxdations as they keep calling them, I like them. The match is really, really good for me. Now I tried it with a sponge. I really like it with a sponge. I actually think it applies nicer with a sponge, which is a little bit unusual. But yeah, I can't tell the difference. This one is the Liquid Skin, and this one is the Glow Skin. I personally can't tell the difference between the two. The concealer, I really enjoy. Really, really enjoy. I'm happy to recommend that. The setting powder. I wouldn't necessarily use it as a setting powder, like not for under the eyes anyways. Maybe as an all over glow, but definitely not for the under eyes, because if you're pale like me, it's going to be quite like kapowy, not necessarily in a good way. I of course then have the Overload palette, which I really like. It's sold as a blush palette, but I actually think if I open it, you see, we do have like some highlighty shades there, and then the blush shades there. I really liked the highlight. It's quite glittery, so if you're not into a glittery highlight, that is not going to be the thing for you, my friend. But yeah, that's essentially it. Take it or leave my general suggestion. Oh yes, setting spray. It's a funny one. It definitely leaves a weird sort of a glitter on you, so if you're not into that, that is definitely not the thing for you. I don't really care. Like, it's a setting spray, it is what it is. I actually probably prefer my NYX Dewy Finish if you want a cheaper alternative, but I think this has more in terms of mils than the NYX Dewy Setting Spray. But that is it. That is the whole kit and caboodle. I do have more XX Revolution stuff coming because I have problems, and I figured, well, I'll review the stuff on this channel, and you can tell me what you think, if it might help you in terms of your purchasing. But that is it. Do please like, comment and subscribe. It helps me out massively. Helps generate more like traffic to my channel, because then the YouTube algorithm is like, oh, something's happening, she might be interesting, and let's fool them. Do please share, because sharing is caring, unless of course it's an STD, in which case, you know, like, wrap it up, don't be gross. But that is it. That is the end of the video. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.